Let's go with that. My name is Darren, and I love discussing African affairs on the African continent. Now, we go back to Somaliland. You remember the conversation we had how the Israel came out to recognize Somaliland, and they had some exchange of documents, treaties, some agreements between states, okay, on how they're going to be operating and how their relationship is going to be. The world went wild, especially so many countries that came out and condemned Israel's decision to recognize Somaliland. People were not very happy about this. You saw the state of Ethiopia. No, Ethiopia didn't actually, but the state of Eritrea, Djibouti, Qatar, UAE, most of these Muslim countries came out. Even the AU came out and said that that was wrong for Israel to come and recognize Somaliland. It goes ahead now, finally. You know what happened? The foreign minister of Israel, Sir, visited Somaliland. And what capacity do you think he visited in? Of course, as a foreign minister. And who was he visiting? The president of Somaliland, Mohammed Abdullahi. They met, shook hands, and the foreign minister of Israel left an invitation for Abdullahi to go and visit Israel. Meanwhile, Somalia is busy making noise. That is wrong. How can he visit Somaliland? But you know what? I told in one of the videos that I was discussing about superpowers in the world who can do whatever they want and walk away with it. USA, Israel are one of them. Plus the countries that have veto powers in the UN, they can do anything and walk away with them. It's just that some of them have been respectful enough. But USA and Israel, no, that's not how they work. When they want something, they get it. And the most interesting thing is when Sir said, no one tells them. And I really want to quote what he said. He said, only Israel will determine for itself who it recognizes. Only Israel will determine who it recognizes. Do you know what that means? It means there is nothing you can do to stop them from what they did. There's nothing Somalia, as a country where there's a breakaway of Somaliland, can do to stop Israel from recognizing Somaliland or to cooperate with Somaliland, to deal with Somaliland differently. There's nothing that Somalia can do. There's nothing anybody can do. And this is exactly what I say. Say, look, African countries, or even other countries, you only claim your sovereign if you have the power. If you have nuclear weapons, probably. Because then you become a threat. No one knows where your nuclear is. You can easily lose your temper and detonate any. Did you actually know that America's nuclear weapons, not all of them are actually in America. Some of them are around NATO powers. For example, Italy. Yeah, they can decide to fight. America can decide to fight with any other country, not on its soil. Actually, America made it a policy that war will never be brought on the American soil. That's how good they are. So they've even planted weapons, the nuclear weapons, around other countries that they work with, so that you never get to fight with them on their land, not even close. They can fight the wars from a distance. Now, if Israel chooses to say, I will recognize Somaliland, I am going to work with Somaliland, I'm going to build the infrastructure in Somaliland in exchange of giving me an army base or minerals or whatever is in that agreement, yeah, no one can stop reggae. That's a fact. And you see, we can talk about international relations and diplomacy in all ways we want, talking about no country should abuse the sovereignty of the other, no country should use force against the other. Those, for me, for the last probably 15, 16 years, actually since the death of Gaddafi, I cannot believe that the UN and AU and EU actually function without the spearhead of a very superpower country like USA. When they invaded Libya, USA decided, I'm going to go and invade Libya. They decided that there's no African president who was going to intervene in the situation that was happening in Libya. On the African side, you expected that the African solutions were going to be given by the African leaders, that they would walk in and say, hey, let's handle this issue and sort it out. Look at what has happened in the Sahel region. ECOWAS is busy saying suspending people and AU suspending countries, and the countries are like, it's okay, we'll do our business. We have so many rebel activities that are on the continent, coups, and all these other things. It's just too much. But the African Union is there because why? It's not funded. And you know why it's not funded? It's because African states are not actually putting in their contributions. You see, every country has a certain level of amount of money that they're supposed to be paying to the Union, that is supposed to help it function. Let me just bring it here to East Africa, where East African countries are supposed to be contributing a certain level of maybe certain amount of money based on their GDP to the federation, not the federation, sorry, the region. But there are countries that have defaulted, never paid that money, and you really expect it to function. We used to see AU soldiers keeping peace, AU peacekeeping forces in different, even in Somalia they were there, even in Congo here they were there, in different parts of Africa they were there. Are they still there? Are they? They can't. So even if AU comes out and makes a statement, it becomes a documentary thing, like, oh yeah, they condemned, but there's nothing you can do. There's just nothing that you can do. What happened in Ethiopia, the central government and the Tigray, you would think that the AU would spring into it. After all, the headquarters is there, and say, no, you don't know, the people are dying in this region. We need to help sort out this issue. No. The wars that happened in South Sudan, nothing. So I think that Israel knows exactly what they have done to recognize Somaliland, to go ahead and the foreign minister visits Somaliland, visits the president of Somaliland, Mohammed Abdullahi, visit him, have conversations. Where did he even pass? He definitely landed in Somaliland, went ahead and had conversations with the government of Somaliland. They know the cooperations they're going to have, and I can promise you that the president of Somaliland will be in Somalia, and will discuss maybe more cooperations with them, including, and not limited, they can have the army there of Israel, and also train the police and army of Somaliland to protect themselves in case of anything. And let me tell you something, Ethiopia is watching. And when Ethiopia is watching, it means Ethiopia one day, and this is just my prediction. This is my prediction, and I'll put that disclaimer. Ethiopia one day will go ahead and make a deal with Somaliland, because they now know what it is. That they know that Somalia will do nothing about it. They will just move in and say, hey, remember the agreement we had when we wanted to access the sea? Oh yeah, can we work on that again? And they will give them access, because Somalia can't do anything about it. I mean, it's very visible. Somalia itself, as a government in Mogadishu, is actually weaker than the government in Somaliland. Because in Somaliland, they have had transitions of presidents, they have a currency, they have a passport. Of course, it's not recognized internationally, but they have these things. They have a government system that is running. Compared to Somalia, where we had almost a dysfunctional government for a very long time, until they had a president recently. So a region that has been independent for more than 30 years, organized in their system, they really can't compete within the same country where there's been lots of jihadism, terrorism, just dysfunctional state as it is. But now that, Somalia, by the way, without discrediting them too much, they're trying to get on their feet. In fact, the East African presidents, Ruto, Museveni, Tshisekedi, Kagame, Everest, Suruhu, are really, and Salva Kiir, they are really trying to see that they help Somalia stabilize. I've seen the president of Somalia go to Uganda, go to Kenya, go to Tanzania. He's been attending all these diplomatic meetings and get involved in so many of them. And indeed, when the day Israel recognized Somaliland, The president of Somalia was on call with Museveni, with Ruto, with Suluhu, Salva Kiir, trying to get reaffirmation that they are standing behind Somalia. But again, like I said, the foreign minister of Israel said no one tells them who to recognize. They determine it by themselves. They say, yeah, we recognize Somalia and Somaliland, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. I can assure you this. I may sound like a prophet of doom, but sometimes we need to understand the realism of what life is. And the reality is exactly what I've told you. An interesting one. My name is Darren, and I will see you in the next one.